Where did he go? I said, where did he go?
Okay, my name's Ginger, and I am the apprentice.
Mhm.
And this is Brittany, and she's my mentor. And we are going to complete the audio-visual recording of our first meeting, where we're going to discuss the competency-based assessment, part 1 and 2. So we did already discuss this before. We are meeting now, and she was able to read the case study for Elias, and also to look over my flyer, parent engagement flyer.
Yes.
Okay, so we talked about the problems that I identified for Elias was mainly his issues at home and the communication barriers between everyone involved. And I included the perspectives of everybody that was involved in his education and his family, and as well as his community partners. Let's jump to the short-term action plan, because that's where we talked about what we talked about the most. So we agreed that his safety and home life is the most important aspect affecting Elias's education. And I'm not sure how much we're supposed to go into detail on this. This is probably where I'll have to do some editing.
Okay, well, you talked about the safety, and if he doesn't feel safe at home, he's not going to be able to learn at school
Yes.
much. So I feel like that's one of the biggest things. And then we have to think about the resources of how we can make him feel safe at home, and those types of resources, which we included like a free meal support.
Yes, which we do have available, something like that at our school. So Brittany and I discussed adding that to my short-term action plan, and I do plan to add that. And also, as far as his language development, giving him some more survival type language to help him communicate his situation at home should he have an emergent situation.
I think another
Anything
thing
else?
with that is because he does have a language barrier, that we would have to have more visuals.
Yes.
To add into that, and even if it's just the visuals within his schedule too.
Yes, so creating a schedule for him. I think I included something about a vocabulary folder where as he adds vocabulary, he adds images that go with it. I feel like that was in one of my modules that I did. And then long-term would be focusing on supporting Elias regardless of whether we can help him at home. And I'd included just about all of the requirements of him needing to have an ILP and receive EL services, and involve his classroom teachers to make sure everyone is providing him the accommodations that he needs. And then as far as his social emotional well-being, I don't know if that's the right terminology, that he's still continuing to check in with other adults besides the teachers, like counselors, maybe a peer tutor, and then connecting him with he and his family with long-term resources. Like if this church ends up not working out, trying to connect him with someone else that can help them long-term get more adjusted to life here. And then, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Oh, that sounds good.
And then we moved on to the flyer, which was my parent engagement flyer. That was part 2 to the assignment.
Yes.
And I made my flyer focused on a classroom that was teaching a reading class. And I just included 3 steps for helping parents involve in their kids' day at school.
Yeah. A lot of it had to do with like what they were doing in school, and then how parents could support that. So knowing what was learned, and then just having that like constant mode of communication between parents and the teachers will be helpful.
Yes. And then we talked about just letting them know what the day is going to look like and what to expect.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned the academic portion, the foundational literacy and handwriting. So if parents want to work on that at home, that's something that they can look into and ask for more resources about too.
Yes. That was something that was new to me. I've never made a flyer like that. Okay, so I'm looking at our criteria for this discussion, if you're wondering why I'm looking down. Okay, so let's discuss the 4 primary domains of disposition.
Okay.
Because it's something that just doesn't naturally come up in her conversation.
Yeah, definitely. So those are open-mindedness, self-reflection, curiosity, and educational equity. It's after 3 p.m. Words are hard. Words are hard after 3 p.m. Okay, so for open-mindedness, if I have to look at this rubric compared to what I see within this classroom and like what you're doing, I would definitely give you between a 2 and a 3. I think you are very open-minded in the classroom and you're constantly asking questions, which is good. And then just learning the kids that are in here and the kids that are around the school, and this being such a vibrant and different type of class compared to the rest of the school, it is, you have to have the open-mindedness and you have to learn each kid as an individual person, and then how they may, most of them may be diagnosed with autism, but that autism spectrum is so high that you have one kiddo that is fully functional and can communicate with you verbally, and then the other one cannot. So you are doing well with that.
I do feel like I could do better too, though, when you bring that up, like just trying to meet kids where they are and not just because I'm used to grouping them together and moving them along at the same pace, but we can't really do that.
No. And so you do, I mean, you do ask questions about that, but I think that is a little bit of a struggle for you when you have one kiddo that is still on numbers and then another kid is adding double digits, subtraction, or addition, and all that stuff. So it's just a learning process.
It's hard to balance.
What's the next one?
Self-reflection.
Okay. And I told you this earlier today. You've been doing really well with that because you've constantly been asking questions and wondering if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that goes with all different types of kids in here. So with those behaviors, I know we have challenging behaviors in here, but you are constantly wondering if you're doing things correctly. So I would give you a proficient with that because that is something that I think you are strong at.
I do ask a lot of
You
questions.
do ask a lot of questions, which is good. We like questions.
Yes.
Don't know if I always have the answers.
Yeah. Okay. The next one is curiosity.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, even more questions.
Yes. So
That's one I'm not.
let me read this. You are a lifelong learner, I believe. You're with the constant asking questions and just trying to learn how this classroom functions. I know it's a lot different than what you're used to and than what you like compared to your tutoring.
Yeah.
This is a whole different ballpark in here. So I feel like that curiosity has been pretty well, and you're always asking like, what can I do in order to help with this student and that student? And then with the curriculum, because we have so many different types of curriculum in here, I know that can be hard and challenging. So the constant questions.
Yes, I do feel like I have a lot to learn on the curriculum, but that will come with time.
Yes.
And, as we go through it. And those are questions that I often have. You don't just have until you get into it too. So
it's very hands-on.
The last one is educational equity.
Okay, so this one I would say developing right now. And we can use an example for today when you are trying to figure out how much you're supposed to insert yourself in a gen ed setting when you have one of those kiddos that are on an IEP. And I know that can be difficult depending on the kid and depending on the case manager. So I would give you developing for that one.
Okay.
We're still learning.
I agree, definitely still learning. Let's see. And the things that are going to be crucial for keeping my goals and staying on course, I think, is just staying organized and us constantly talking about what am I getting done, what I need to get done. And then we've talked about the new app that is where you're gonna be able to input that information that tracks how I'm doing with different competencies. And I don't think you have that yet, but we just got that information this week. So more to come on that. So I don't think we have really anything else to say there unless you.
No.
And then some discussion questions about my development. And I've asked Brittany about this several times, is that I'm worried about my pacing through the program. And I've learned that she also went through an online program, so she understands the difficulties of pacing oneself.
Yeah. And we talked about yesterday with the pacing situation, like if you can compare or not compare, but ask your other classmates on that group where they're at and see if like you are where you should be, or even just ask your person.
Yeah, and I'll plan to talk with Dr. Robertson about that, just to kind of make sure, since I am on my own for most things. And the other discussion question that I was thinking about was how we are going to get through this list of competencies, which seems really long right now. I don't know how
I think we're just gonna have to take it like by like weekly and just see, okay, like what did we work on this week, and go from there, and then check things off. Unless there's like a specific one you want to work on, if you want to even choose like, okay, I want to work on these 3 or these 2 weekly, and then we can focus on
that
those.
actually.
Yeah. So if you just pick a couple, like a goal.
Yes. So like pick 2 or 3 things per week.
Yeah. And then you tell me at the beginning of the week, and then I can.
Yeah. We can either get there or not, but at least we set a goal. Okay. I like it.
Yes.
All right. I think that's all. I think we've talked about everything we're supposed to talk about. So
perfect.
We're going to sign off.
Thank you.
Thanks.